Good morning everyone and welcome to another review, not today about the brand new Canon EOS R1 Mark II, the Nikon Z6 Mark IV or the brand new DJI Osmo Action 6. Today it's all about the Canon IXUS 285HSA, which is called differently in the United States. It's called Canon PowerShot ELPH 360 for whatever reason, I don't know. It retails for about 370 euros here in Germany. It's probably the similar price in the US and the United Kingdom. It's available in two different colors and we take a look on this brand new camera, which was released in October 25. So first of all, it's pretty light, it's pretty small. It measures 10 centimeters in length, 6 centimeters in height and 2.3 centimeters in depth, and it weighs only 146 grams, including battery and micro SD. If we have a look at the body, we have a trigger button on top, a zoom switch just in front of it, a record button for video, and several other switches which are basically self-explained. In front of the camera we have a fixed lens which is equivalent to a 25 to 300 millimeter on a full frame camera with a 1/2.3 inch camera sensor. We have 20 megapixels and Canon says on their website that it's a high-speed USB port, which I can not confirm because I thought it is mandatory to put in a USB Type-C port in newer devices. For whatever reason they don't have to, or maybe it doesn't make too much sense to put it in that old camera. But at this point I would say USB Type-C would have been so much better to transfer files, to charge the camera using a power bank, or to charge it in your car or at your computer, but it does not. The camera does feature Wi-Fi, I come to that point in a second, and it also features that weird HDMI port, which probably no one else uses out there. It doesn't have an internal battery, so you can change the battery, you can get a spare battery, and it's called NB11L with its 800 milliampere hours. It should last for about 180 to 260 photos, which in real life I would say is probably less, because sometimes you're taking a video, then you play back some files, and that all costs some energy, and I would say 180 to 200 is more realistic than 260. And then on the bottom you have a standard tripod mount, and on the rear side you got a 7.5 centimeters or 3-inch LCD, no touch and no articulating screen, so it's fixed. Unfortunately, I can just imagine all the girls that just want to get a fancy camera for their club nights, for their birthday parties, and everyone can take that camera instead of having a phone and can take selfies, but you cannot flip that screen in your direction. In terms of memory card, you do need a micro SD card, so not the big one. You need that small, tiny micro SD card. And if you ask me how many gigabytes would you get, probably 256. Why it's not 128? And with 256 gigabytes, it probably lasts 2 weeks of holiday, or if you want to give your kid that camera for a class trip or something, 256 gigabyte is a good sweet spot for recording videos and taking a lot of photos. And there's also a recommendation for you. You will find it as a link in the video description. If we have a look at the camera's menu, it's quite simple. There are not too many points, to be honest. You can change the language, you can change the date, the time, and you have also a timestamp, which you don't have on bigger cameras. And some people were asking for that timestamp. So either you leave it just with the date, or date and time, and then you see it on the lower right corner. And as I said before, it has a standard tripod mount, and we do have Wi-Fi and a self-timer. That means you can place that camera on a tripod, you can be 10 meters away, you can download the free Canon Camera Connect app for Apple and Android devices, and then you can zoom in using your phone. You can use the self-timer. If you don't want to use your phone, you can transfer the files using the same app directly onto your phone, photos as well as videos, and then you can share them with friends straight away. And you can switch between photo and video mode. And then you got an extra switch just behind the zoom switch for filters. And to be honest, these 6 creative filters by Canon, they look so weird. I would never ever use them. It would have been just perfect to put in black and white, sepia and old school looking filters to attract some people out there. But with these random taken pictures in all different kind of weird colors, I would never ever use that feature, but that's my personal opinion. And then you got a hybrid auto switch also on the same spot. And if you use that, it will automatically create a diary. So your files are sorted by date. So if you go to a store to print out your photos, they are well sorted already for you. And then you got an extra button for a portrait zoom. So the camera zooms in automatically if you want to get a portrait picture, and it kind of gives you a portrait look, but you won't get the same background blur that you would get using telephoto lens or a lens with a fast aperture. But I would say if you want to get a camera for snapshots while being on holiday, shouldn't be expensive, you want to keep it simple, you want to have a date and a timestamp, it's all right. And sometimes it may be that you don't want to carry a phone with you that retails 1,500 euros like an iPhone 17 Pro Max, and you just want to keep it simple, you want to keep it compact and light. Maybe you want to give that camera to your kid, or you just want to share it for your next birthday party, then it's a proper camera to have. Speaking about the zoom, you have a 12x optical zoom, which in practice looks like this. Unfortunately, this camera takes only 1080p footage with a maximum 30 frames per second. So no real slow motion, not the best quality for 2025. And we have also an integrated image stabilizer. And then I thought to myself, well, I do have an iPhone 17 Pro Max and I want to compare it with this camera. So my iPhone takes 4K footage with 120 frames per second, but I want to keep it simple. I leave it in 4K 30. My iPhone does have a super wide angle lens, which this Canon camera does not have. So you have equivalent 25 centimeters, which is a wide angle, but not a super wide angle. And then I thought to myself, let's check out the zoom capabilities. And then I zoomed in. So my iPhone 17 Pro Max has 8x optical zoom, while this camera has 12x. We have 4K on the iPhone, 1080p on the other camera, and in practice it looks basically like this. Speaking about low light, you do have a pretty small camera sensor in there. Unfortunately, we don't have a manual mode. That means we cannot put that camera on a tripod, on a wall, or on any other stand just to stabilize it and then expose longer to keep the ISO lower. So we just have to rely on the automatic mode. So I would say in terms of low light, there are better options. However, if you do use the flash during low light for people shots, snapshots on your next birthday party or something, they look all right. But you cannot expect a super 20 megapixel image taken during low light with all kinds of details that you would get if you would expose for a longer time, keeping the ISO low for the best result. Then we come to my summary. I mean, it's 25 and they should have used a USB-C port at least, so we would be able to transfer the files really fast. We would be able to charge the camera instead of having that extra battery charger on such a small camera. Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what's behind Canon, why did they do that? But speaking about my point of view, it would have been so much easier just to put in USB Type-C and go with all the features that comes with that part. So you cannot charge the camera using a power bank, you cannot charge it in your car, you cannot charge it using your computer's cable or your smartphone cable. Micro SD card, that's pretty nice, and as I said, I would go for 256 gigabytes. Something that I don't get is why they didn't put in a swivel display. I mean, you could have attracted so many girls out there that just want to take some selfies, having a small fancy camera with them on their bachelor party, birthday party, or while they're out in a club. Maybe someone doesn't want to take their 1,500 euro smartphone with them. And this camera does not feature a swivel display, so it's fixed and it doesn't have any touch functions. I know you could also get the Canon PowerShot G7X Mark III, which costs more than 700, 800 euros, and this camera is already 6-7 years old, and I just don't get it. But luckily this camera features now Wi-Fi, so we can control this camera, the zoom, with our smartphone. Full HD video with a maximum of 30 frames per second. I think you won't win any prize out there. But if you want to take quick photos using the flash or in daylight, it's a pretty nice and compact camera to have. It fits in any jeans, it fits into almost every bag out there, from your girlfriend, from your wife. And if you want to get this camera for your kid for a next school trip or something, because you don't want to get an extra smartphone for $1,500 or euros, it's a nice camera to have. So what's your opinion about the quality? Leave a comment below, and if you would like to support my channel, you will find the microSD, so as the camera, in 2 different colors as a link in the video description. See you next time here on The Daniel Life.